Some builds are meant to be intensive and very high actions per minute, and then there's some builds which are made to just work. This is from the second category. If you ever wanted to do GMs but you don't have a clan to do it with, you can do it with LFG using this build. Sometimes you just want to make your life simpler and there's no better way than going Ghost. So with that in mind, do you like to go Invis? Do you enjoy supporting your teammates? Do you like to be a sneaky boy? And do you like eyes? If the answer is yes to any of these questions, then this is the build for you. But before we get into that, make sure you hit the like for the YouTube algorithm, and if you enjoy Destiny content, make sure you sub to my channel. I upload weekly. Now let's go! For this build, we're going to play the Void Hunter again. For the super, I would go with Deadshot because it stays on the field a lot longer than Mobius Quiver. Damaging just one target will actually apply the damage to all of the targets caught by the tendrils. That way you can use the super not only for the debuff but also for ad clear, which is very nice. For the dodge, we're using Marksman's dodge because it has a lower cooldown. For the grenade, we're going to use the Vortex grenade because it's the most reliable option and it also comes with AoE. For aspects, we have Vanishing Step, where dodging will make you invisible. Simple, straight to the point, just use it to stay alive. The second aspect is Trapper's Ambush. Activate your air move while in the air to dive down to the ground in a puff of smoke. Enemies caught in the smoke are weakened and allies caught in the smoke will actually turn invisible. Your smoke bomb will make nearby allies invisible when it attaches to nearby surfaces or targets as well. Now let's move on to the fragments. First is Echo of Remnants. Your Vortex grenade will have an increased duration. Then we have Echo of Persistence. Void buffs applied to you will have an increased duration. And finally, Echo of Undermining. Your Void grenades will weaken targets. With this setup, we're getting the most out of our buffs, and our Void grenades will also give a 15% debuff to anything caught in them. Let's move on to the weapon recommendations. This is a GM build which relies mostly on its exotic, but there are some weapon recommendations I can give just so you can understand the playstyle that you need to go for. Up in the kinetic spot, I have an Adept Hung Jury with Shoot to Loot and Kinetic Tremors. Scouts just got a 10% damage buff against red bars, which is incredibly helpful. As of next season, Shoot to Loot will be able to pick up Orbs of Power for you. This means that you'll be able to get armor charges very easy and very safely. And Kinetic Tremors is a very big buff to your damage as it comes to majors and champions. In the energy slot, we're going with Ariana's Vow for its anti-barrier capabilities and for its big damage. In the power slot, we're going to go with a rocket which has explosive light for the big deeps. The goal with the weapon choices here is to be able to stay away, be safe, and still input incredible amounts of damage. Let's move on to the exotic, baby. For this build, we're going with the Omnioculus, which is your tool that will turn you into a support character. Its perk is Beyond the Veil. You gain a second smoke bomb charge and you have damage resistance while invisible. When you make an ally invisible, they gain the damage resistance while invisible and you gain melee energy back. You get 50% of your melee energy back for each ally you make invisible. This means that if you make both of your allies invisible in a GM, you don't lose any melee charges. As long as you're able to catch both of your allies, you'll basically be perma-invis for the entire GM clear. Now let's move on to the armor mods. This build is carried by its exotic, so the armor mods are not incredibly crucial, but let's see what we go with here. On the helmet I have Kinetic Siphon on, so kills with our scout rifle will actually give us Orbs of Power. Once next season rolls around, using Shoot to Loot on the Orbs of Power will be so OP. Then I have Ashes to Assets to gain some super energy on grenade kills. And then a Heavy Ammo Finder to increase the drop chance of heavy ammo on kills. On the arms, we start off with Firepower. Grenade final blows will create Orbs of Power. Then we have Bowstring Detonation, which grants class ability energy when you cause damage with a grenade. And finally, a Grenade Kickstart. When your grenade energy is fully expanded, you gain some grenade energy back. This will consume armor charges to increase the effect based on how many charges have been consumed. On the chest, just make sure you put some resistance mods on. In this case, I have Harmonic Resistance and Concussive Dampener. And I also put one stack of Charged Up, which will increase the maximum number of stacks of armor charge we can carry by 1. On the leg armor, we start off with better already. Your health begins to regenerate immediately after picking up an Orb of Power. This is just really good for survivability. Then we have stacks on stacks. Picking up an Orb of Power will grant us 1 additional stack of armor charge. To round it all off, we have Insulation, which reduces our class ability cooldown each time we pick up an Orb of Power. All of these will be so ridiculous once next season comes around and Shoot to Loot can pick up Orbs of Power. Finally, on the cloak, we have Reaper. After using your class ability, your next weapon final blow will spawn an Orb of Power. And we pair that with Utility Kickstart. When your class ability energy is fully expanded, you gain some class ability energy back. This will consume your armor charges and will increase the effect based on how many armor charges have been consumed. The goal with the mods here is to have very high ability uptime because we want to be invisible as often as possible. That's probably why the Utility Kickstart will be your best friend. And of course, don't forget about the damage resistance buffs because you are playing GMs after all. With all of that out of the way, let's move on to the gameplay loop. The loop for this build is actually very simple. You just need to make sure you invis both of your teammates every time you go for a dive. The thing here is that you want to actually be useful with your invises, so you may need to play all of the GMs a couple of times just so you know when the hard spots are. Whenever you get to a difficult section, just jump in the air, use your air move, and make sure both of your teammates go invis. After that is done, you can start skipping sections or just stay alive for a longer time because you have a lot more damage resistance. The DR given from Omnioculus while invis is 50%, and this does stack with your resilience stat. On top of that, it will stack with any other damage resistance mods that you may have, but make sure you stay alive. While you are a support character, you also turn out to be one of the most important parts of any GM run. That is simply because you have invis on command with your dodge. If both of your teammates go down, it will be your time to shine because you have to go invis to resurrect them. In a GM, that's not unlikely to happen, so make sure you have your dodge up at all times. Once one of your teammates goes down, you just dodge to become invisible and you go to their orb to res them. When you're done with that res, you just simply need to jump and click your air move very quickly. If you do those actions in a quick succession, you won't go very high up in the air, which means that your res teammate will stay damageable for a very short amount of time. To be fair, they'll still be damageable, but they'll have a lot of damage resistance and they'll be invisible, so no new shots will be taken at them. So that will be the time to make your swift escape and get the heck on out of there, which will allow your team to reset in a more favorable position. Other than that, you can just stay at the back and use your scout rifle to plink plonk at any enemies that come your way. Stay safe, play smart, and you'll definitely get through a GM easily. The thing with GMs is they hurt a lot, and that's why this build is so incredibly crucial. In my opinion, the utility this build brings is as important as a Well of Radiance. So bring your Omnioculus Hunter, bring a Well Warlock, and you're sure to beat any GM that comes your way. And that is pretty much it for the build, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure you hit the like for the YouTube algorithm. And if you like Destiny content as a whole, make sure you sub to my channel because I upload at least once a week. Thank you for watching until the end. Eyes up, Guardian, and I'll see you in the next one.